This episode is brought to you by Rebel Massage Deep Tissue Body Butter. Crafted because oil is too slick and lotion absorbs too fast, these organic, professional-grade bodywork butters give you the grip you've been looking for. The best techniques in the world can get lost without the right product to support them. Try the Get a Grip version for more specific, focused work, or the Total Meltdown version for that grip with a little extra glide. Made by a massage therapist for massage therapists. Head over to rebelmassage.com to get your grip today. Become a certified manual lymphatic drainage therapist with the Academy of Lymphatic Studies, ACOLS. ACOLS offers a variety of courses addressing edema and lymphedema management. The popular manual lymph drainage certification and complete lymphedema therapy certification courses can be taken completely in person or in a hybrid format. With 150 annual course offerings all over the country, students can find the right course for them. Visit acols.com to find a class near you. That's acols.com.
Sandy Fritz literally wrote the book on massage therapy. From her early years of finding her way in an undefined career to an author, teacher, and leader of our industry, Sandy's journey has been anything but straightforward. But in all of her experiences and education in what we do, Sandy has come to an important realization.
For all the people I learned from and all the stuff I studied on my own and, all of that stuff, I have routinely come back to massage is massage is massage, good, caring massage, soft tissue manipulation, movement, not fancy, is our strength.
Before reaching this seemingly simple conclusion, though, there were a lot of twists and turns along the way. Sandy's origin story as a massage therapist came at an interesting time in history. Combined with her own need to support herself, she forged a path in bodywork when a clear map in the field simply didn't exist.
Of course, I've been doing this forever, 43 years. I was thinking about that, knowing that this was coming up. So I come out of the 60s. I graduated from high school in 1971, came of age in the later 60s, was married very young, had my first child at 20, and did the stay-at-home mom thing. On the side of that, I was very interested in the holistic health, organic gardening, the not necessarily hippie, but the communes and all that kind of stuff that came out of that era that influenced me. And massage, in all of its crazy renditions back then, was part of that. So my marriage fell apart, and I needed to support myself. So my side interest in self-care and that whole holistic sort of a thing put me on to massage therapy, which was really alternative at that time, let me tell you. And I was pursuing it then at that point, not just from a hobby status, but from I gotta keep a roof over myself and my kids' head.
I'm not sure about you guys, but when I went to school, and even at the schools I taught at, having to learn, write about, or even create a timeline about the history of massage therapy was an important part of the training. Turns out, Sandy lived a lot of that history, apprenticing under those who were also working to understand the work as it was emerging. Her studies and her future began to take shape.
Medical doctors did not come into our area. Our medical care was primarily provided by osteopaths, and they were in transition in how they were becoming part of a more traditional medical system at that point. So a lot of osteopaths were my clients, and they taught me stuff. And then when you got closer into the 80s, a lot of guru type stuff emerged. That's where the applied kinesiology was coming forward, and some of the Rolfing was coming out of that, which brought attention to the connective tissue types of things. And there was a lot of overlap with massage and spirituality and distance healing, and all that kind of stuff was in there. And I didn't fit well with that. So I was seeking places that were more concrete to learn. In the early days, I did spend 4 or 5 years working with John Barnes. It was later that I met Dr. Leon Chadow, and he was probably my best influence in terms of grounding me and how I wanted my massage therapy practice to unfold at the time. Mm-hmm. And it was really a rodeo. It was crazy during that time coming up, but it changed a lot in the mid 80s, and then really took a shift in the 90s.
Sandy found patterns in how she worked and what she needed to do to support her family.
I developed a very regular client base. And so retention, people that you see over and over and over. And even though I have changed career focus 2 or 3 times, it's still always been about retention. So there's always been tension between how much can I charge and how much can they pay in order to have massage therapy as regular care, and trying constantly to find that balance on where that is and cover my own expenses.
Facing a vague future in the field of bodywork and massage, Sandy still emerged as a preliminary thinker and writer on the topic of Western and science-based work. Her ability to do so stemmed from a balance of self-awareness and driven determination.
I'm a believer in synchronicity. Things happen, and if you are focused, if you have intention, then you'll recognize when those things happen. And so I've always been a little on the pragmatic side. And I was always a little uncomfortable with the mix between heavy spiritualism and spirituality in with what seemed quite mechanical with massage therapy. And so the amount of money I spent and the classes I took anything that people would sometimes now call weird, I took those classes. There was I took all kinds of crystal healing stuff, and I took distance healing stuff, and a lot of energy-based stuff. Polarity was the main focus because that was what was popular at the time.
Sandy was most heavily influenced by a couple of teachers at the time who guided her to be the therapist she was looking to be.
The class type structure that I took with John Barnes was probably at that point more grounded than some other that I had been exposed to at the time. But the biggest influencer on me was Dr. Leon Chadow. And he came into my world through an exposure to his textbook that he had, or his book that he had out at the time, the blue covered soft tissue manipulation one. And I was so hungry at that time for something where my feet could stay on the ground and my spirit could stay in my body to do massage kind of a thing, that I called him and I said, "Where are you going to be? I will be there." And he was going to be in Chicago. And it's when he just started traveling. And I followed him all over the place. And when he asked me to do something, I did it. And I was just so honored when I look back on it, so fortunate to be able to be in his presence and try to figure out what he was talking about. And then another teacher came into my life, Dr. David Girovich, who was a Russian Jewish refugee physician. And during the early 80s, there was turmoil, and his son got out and then brought him out. And then Russian Relocation Services, I had the school by then, asked if there was, because he couldn't bring his medical license with him. And he was older at the time. And I learned a tremendous amount from him because he practiced physical medicine. And so he had a huge influence on me. But I would ask him all of these crazy questions. Well, what do you think about polarity? What do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
I remember one time he threw his hands up, and we communicated pretty good, but his, he didn't speak English as his first language. He threw his hands up and he says, Sandy, I'm not a god. I only doctor. I don't know. Where is pain I rub?
So Sandy found a lot of answers to the questions she had, but today is different. As a teacher, her perception of this current generation's challenge is different from what she experienced when she was a student.
It is different because the information is like thrown. I had to go hunt the information. And a new graduate right now, or a student, or somebody who's trying to grow in their professional development, there's too much. There's too much, and they don't know. And we've got so much research now. The grounding is there, and their hunger is to get back to the foundation instead of all this periphery. And I remember with Dr. Chada one time, I'd sponsor him at the school to come teach, and he was teaching a lot of osteopathic technique at the time. And it would be my job to kind of go, how's this fit in scope of practice, kind of stuff. And somebody asked him a question along the lines of, well, I don't want to just do massage, I wanted, and he said, if you lose massage, you've lost it all. Massage is the foundation of all of this.
So what does the term massage mean to Sandy Fritz?
You have identified one of the most confounding problems we have in the massage community right now. We have, as a community, not defined massage. We do not have a definition. The closest that's out there, and what I use in the newer editions of my textbooks, are the definitions brought forth by Ann Blair Kennedy when she analyzed the best practices content. The best practices symposium was, I don't even know how many years ago, but a bunch of thought leaders and leaders in the field internationally were brought together. And we spent 3 days trying to sort through this question right here. So if you look at it very pragmatically, massage is introduction of a mechanical force. And then if it's a human body, it's into soft tissue. But you can massage a low, bread dough, right? So when you introduce mechanical force into a material, two things happen. Either that material changes shape or moves. If it can move, like if you push a ball, the force will generate movement. But if it doesn't move, like if you push down on the ball will change shape. And then the cascade of events happens, whether it's the movement or the shape change. And if you step back and you look at all of the variety of bodywork modalities that are there, if you are manipulating soft tissue, you're introducing a force. And you, all the different modalities that name it all different are just, they introduce the force in this direction and they call it that, or they introduce the force using a tool and then they call it that. So then the next step on that with massages is that it's a manual therapy. Massage is a form of manual therapy. So that means that one practitioner, a provider, is introducing, a human is providing that, or it's been expanded so that there can be some machine introduced mechanical force. And so then you adapt, you go, okay, this client wants, the outcome for this client is pain management, or the outcome for this client is better sleep. What am I going to stimulate? Because that mechanic force then becomes a stimulus. Most of what we do is a stimulus response situation, but there can be some mechanical effect too.
So in the midst of defining and redefining what massage is, Sandy wrote her first book. I asked her how she came to that decision.
Yeah, I never did want to write a book. I am very dyslexic. And the computer thing, was just sort of starting. And actually, it had ended up being a saving grace for me, primarily with spell check, some of them. But I didn't want to write a book. My school started by people saying, please teach me. Okay. And that was in the early 80s. And so I was looking for something to teach from. And I contacted, it was Mosby at the time. I had reached out to a sales rep and was trying to make books work, even though they weren't really targeting massage. Now, there was the massage book, and I used it, and it was a great book, and I love it. I still love it. So I said, you need to have a book written. You need to do this. And this sales rep got a promotion, and they moved into a new division of Mosby at the time called Mosby Lifeline. And they were reaching out into new markets. And they came back to me and he said, I know you've been bugging for a book. Why don't you write one? And I said, no. I said, no, I'm not going to do that, but I'll see if we can find a way to get a collaborative book together. Because there was a lot of other separation in the massage world at the time. That was when there was infighting over the various organizations, and there were problems with, should we have national certification or not? Should we pursue a license? Lot going on. So I suggested leaders in the field that could be recruited to write this book, and they wouldn't do it. They wanted either a big advance or something like that. And so I said, okay, let's go to Ontario, Canada. And the Canadian group didn't want to write entry level. They had one chapter on entry level, and then they wanted to get into all the treatment stuff. So they came back to me and they said, we can't find anybody to do it. And I said, I don't know that I can do it. And they promised me a ton of help, which they gave me. And so the closest book at the time that I felt could be a model was a book for medical assistants written by Sheila Sarantino. And I got that book and I looked at it and I said, okay, here's the sanitation part. Here's the client record part. Here's this part right here, massage therapists can't do, but this is where I can introduce that. And I used that book as a platform. And it came out in 1995. And I used what research was available at the time. And it still at that time kind of sort of had the classical massage Swedishy thing. That was kind of the embedded terminology. So if you look back at that first edition, you'll see language like effleurage and petrissage. But that's just such a narrow focus of massage and massage therapy that by the time the next edition came around, I was looking for a broader base of terminology.
But the delivery of information has changed drastically since Sandy wrote her first book. As the new, evolving method of imparting information keeps expanding, Sandy finds herself looking at the new generation with curiosity and respect.
I am not a technology fiend, but technology helped me so much with the dyslexia. And to say that massage therapy education cannot be presented through a hybrid format is just asinine. It's asinine. The newer generation needs that flexibility in education. The old brick and mortar model is just done. I've got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old grandsons, and I look at that and I go, that to not have that part of what their experience is, that's a shame. And, it's just second nature to them.
Speaking of how to maintain self-worth in a constantly changing cultural climate, Sandy weighed in on what status means in the healthcare community and how we, as body workers, can navigate our own merit.
So this idea of status and where we belong on the pecking order, so to say, that's really old think, by the way. And in this consortium of all of these different professionals, massage therapy is not seen as below. The value of massage therapy is equal to the value of everything else. But there is status there, and it's based on education. And status goes towards risk and risk management. So if a person has committed to an extensive education, like an osteopathic physician does, they have had the time and the exposure and the practice and the education of years and years that allows them to navigate and manage more and more risk. So they get to deal with clients that have more fragile situations, or they have skills to identify what's going on. And there are a lot of technicians underneath them, lab techs and people that run the x-ray machines and the MRIs and all that kind of stuff that bring them the data. But they have honed through this period of molding, educational molding and experience molding, the decision making. And so I've never felt like I was less than them, but my job is different. I don't want to see massage therapy, which is a healthcare service, a health profession service. I don't want to see us educated out of our ability to deliver this. And I don't want to see us absorbed under the medical technician arena. I am very supportive of our ability to have autonomous practice. But our strength is not in complicated care. Our strength is in well-being and health service. And that is where that's what Dr. Cheta was saying. Don't lose your value. If I want to work in more complicated situations with a vocational education, then I align with somebody who has the academic degrees and is been skilled to identify that. I cooperate. I cooperate with an equal within my strata of experience and strata of education. I have never been ashamed to be a massage therapist. I have things that I can do as a massage therapist, vocationally trained, vocationally licensed, that other academically trained professionals wish they had, like autonomy and not having to be ruled by the health insurance, medical insurance, the corporate medical delivery system. That I don't have to fix it. I am not held to the idea of a cure. That helping somebody feel better for a while is enough. My value and status is determined on, did the person do better? Massage is going to wear off. It is always going to wear off. It is not a fix-it. Most medications are not fixes it either. They wear off. You have to take them over and over. And so to be of service in helping people feel better for a while and not levying the expectation that you have to get better. You have to, what a wonderful thing.
Sandy Fritz continues to be a champion for massage therapists and the massage and bodywork community to this day. Not quite ready to fold up her table and put it away, Sandy persists in her research, writing, teaching, and practice, and gracefully evolves with this ever-changing world of health and wellness. Please refer to the show notes on how to access her immeasurable work and endless efforts.
Members are loving ABMP 5-Minute Muscles and ABMP Pocket Pathology, 2 quick reference web apps included with ABMP membership. ABMP 5-Minute Muscles delivers muscle-specific palpation and technique videos, plus origins, insertions, and actions for the 83 muscles most commonly addressed by bodyworkers. ABMP Pocket Pathology, created in conjunction with Ruth Werner, puts key information for nearly 200 common pathologies at your fingertips and provides the knowledge you need to help you make informed treatment decisions. Start learning today. ABMP members log in at abmp.com and look for the links in the featured benefits section of your member homepage. Not a member? Learn about these exciting member benefits at